have been living in Flemington Park for the last 2 years. I have noticed the air quality is very bad as we are close to the Don Valley Parkway, which is a highway that brings commuters from the east end as well as the west end of Ontario. There are buildings that are located right off the Don Valley Parkway, are a host to daycare centers for many children in the neighborhood. Therefore, I decided to find more about the air quality in Toronto. I reached out to Paul Young, who is a health promoter at the South Riverdale Community Health Center.
In this particular area, so they're looking at Riverdale and beaches, the emissions that are above the provincial guidelines are fine particulate matter. So these are very fine dust particles that have sometimes heavy metals attached to them that will embed in your lungs. You've got transboundary air pollution, which is basically emissions coming up from the Ohio Valley, where they have a lot of coal-fired generating stations. Another third is coming from the transportation sector, and another third is coming from the energy production in Ontario. So we've got our own coal-fired plants. The modeling study layers up the transboundary, the provincial sources, and then the Toronto sources.
Let's find out what we are exposed to.
If you look at the Air Quality Health Index, which is different from the Air Quality Index, it will tell you the health impacts of the air. So they look at what's in the air for today, and they give you a reading. So if it's 7, for example, and you're out running around, you may find that you're out of breath more quickly. If you're a senior citizen, you probably shouldn't go out that day. If you're a child playing soccer with asthma, it's probably not a good day to go out. This is particular to this neighborhood. They're giving off something called toluene, which is a carcinogen. It's a cancer-causing chemical that's related to the process of making shingles. This city, most of it was built before the car came along. So it was built for little trolley cars and for horses. They weren't designed to accommodate cars. So eventually, if you're going to the city, you're going to hit that. There's no way to reduce the bottleneck on Queen Street, for example. What would you do? What would you do on Yonge Street? You know, so I think people imagine I'm going to have like a 4-lane or an 8-lane highway right to my destination. It's just not going to happen.
I also obtained an interview from the residents of Flemington Park. Let's hear what they have to say.
Air is actually fundamental to human beings, and if the air is not pretty good, then what's the point of even living in an area? You could live in a very bad place, but the air quality would be so much better, and you would actually prefer living it over there instead of living in a place which is actually air polluted. And there are a lot of old people that live here too, and they can't breathe properly, and if you give them the polluted air to breathe, they would actually have heart problems and all sorts of that problems.
All the traffic makes like a really huge mess when we're playing basketball or sports or whatnot here, staying here for long amounts of hours and then breathing in all this pollution with the cars and whatnot really affects us when we're playing. It's not good for our lungs. With all this pollution, it really isn't the greatest air to breathe in.
The air pollution's gotten a lot better just because when I used to live here, you could see the CN Tower from here downtown and you could never see any of the buildings. But today you're able to see it all, and I think it's gotten better.
The best place. It's amazing. You're close to the D.V.P, which gets you to the Gardner, which gets you to the 401.
Let's find out what we are exposed to.
Each car emits an average amount of particulate matter, CO2, nitrogen oxides. So you can model a car and then kind of figure out what that car is putting out and then multiply it by the number of cars that you have. Air sampling is very difficult because when you're measuring what's in the air, you're getting a mix of all the things, something from the factory, something from the tailpipe, and you don't know which source is which.
As mentioned, the 3 types of pollution are transboundary, industrial, and traffic.
The health center and residents in the neighborhood suspected that there was lead contamination in the soil. So this was coming in part because we were close to a large lead smelter, which if we look out on the horizon is just about half a kilometer from here. And there's a school very close to that place. They actually set up some blood testing for the children in the neighborhood and found that yes, they did have high levels of lead in their blood. And that this was going to have adverse health effects. So that meant learning disabilities. That's primarily what lead will do to kids. And those disabilities are often permanent.
Daycare should be further away than 100 meters. It should be like even further away than that because there are kids around here and they actually take children outside, small rides to the parks, and they actually move around the area. So I think 100 meters is not enough. They should even go to a more isolated place. Can't really take the D.V.P out. We can't really take the buildings out as well. But we need to find a smart solution for this problem.
People had asked over and over again was for some kind of sampling, like a monitoring of the air, so that people would know what is in the air, what are we breathing, is it harming our kids or our seniors? To know that you have some control over your community in a way that you can engage and help the decision makers understand what your needs are. If traffic congestion is a problem, it's kind of heartening to know that you can actually go out and try and make a difference. I believe Vancouver's doing this as well, and there's a couple of other cities in Canada where they're piloting this idea of helping people understand what the health impacts are and how to deal with it. Now, that doesn't help people understand how to make the air quality better. It just, we're basically coping with a bad situation here. Having that understanding then can help you make an informed decision and start to work for change.